Number 12. Vorkath, one of the most iconic mid-level bosses in the game. It's really easy to get the hang of, and the money is pretty good. If you own one of the 2 Dragonbane weapons, you can easily make 3.5 million GP per hour, and that's pretty good. Number 11. This was supposed to be a top 10 list, but then suddenly they dropped the Colosseum on us. And I just had to talk about it. It's like the Inferno, but you make a lot of money. But in order to get that money, you have to get consistent completions. So good luck with that. I know it's ranked pretty low, but how can I possibly say it's a good method if I can't even see for myself? Number 10. In this house, you have what might be one of the best skilling moneymakers in the game. Blood shards are ridiculously expensive, and you get 1 double blood shard drop every 6 to 7 hours, and about 230k XP per hour. So roughly 4 mil per hour at current prices. But there are some caveats. You only get about 190,000 XP per hour if you don't have a resupply alt. But as it stands, it's definitely the best way to make money via skilling. Number 9. I used to have a lot of problems with this piece of content, but over the years they've actually removed a lot of the tedious parts. It's a completely different experience now than what it used to be, but the drops are painfully rare, so I'm gonna rank it pretty low. Plus, the GP isn't actually that good. The wiki is misleading. Nobody wants to do 1,000 solos for a T-bow, unless you're an Iron Man. Number 8. Bandos might be one of the most iconic bosses in the game, along with being one of the most popular, and for good reason. Bandos drops are worth a lot, and you can get a considerable amount of kills per hour duoing, or just soloing. That's what I recommend at least. Full crystal is pretty cheap, so even a mid-level player can try their luck at making over 5 mil per hour here, possibly more depending on the price of the items. And to think I could be wearing full ancestral right now. Number 7. Now that all the low attention span redditors have clicked off this video, it's time for a bit of a controversial opinion. Hydra is a pretty chill boss. I know it's hard to believe, but after a while, moving around and flicking prayers becomes second nature. So you're left with a low action per minute boss that drops around 4 mil per hour. Personally, I've made about 1.2 billion from this boss. So I definitely recommend trying it. Also, look at this. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Number 6. I know what you're thinking. How is this so high on the list? Or maybe that's not what you're thinking, because basically no one knows or cares about Cerberus these days. The thing is, you get really fast kills, especially with the power creep that has set in over the years. And the crystals are worth a lot. The combat and Slayer XP is really good. It's a fun boss with fun mechanics. It's extremely profitable for being such a low-level boss. All you need is an arc light.
1 eternity later.
And it only takes about 2 hours to get an elite clue. So yeah, no doubt the single best Slayer boss in the game. I know this is a list about making money, and that Nex is the most profitable boss in the entire game. But let's be real, there's a really good reason why so few people are doing Nex. Take a good look at this footage. Look at that. And that was the second time that happened in one day. That kind of garbage is enough to make anyone give up. But there is actually a really effective way of dealing with Nexus mechanics. I really did try to enjoy Nex, but it's not possible. The only real chance we have at making money at Nex is if you join the OSRS Splits Discord. Even then, you're not always gonna find a team. And there are so many caveats and just awful things to deal with. It's just not feasible for any player who just wants to play the game and have fun. Matches can be okay, I guess, but you can get griefed or go dry for a really long time, so I don't recommend it. Moving on. Number 4. I know putting Armadyl above Nex in a money-making list is blasphemy, but truth be told, it's a much better boss than Nex. And you get drops a lot more frequently. It's also free from the really annoying mechanics. You basically do a lot of tanking, a bit of DPSing, and heal up with Blood Barrage. And if you have a shadow, you'll save a lot of money by not having to buy Chinchampas. So there is no denying that it's a much better boss. Number 3. Oh, Armadyl already made a MIDI joke in his video. Oh well. With Desert Treasure 2, it's not just a fun boss with fun mechanics, it's 4 fun bosses. Okay, only 2 of them are fun, but that's still pretty good. You have Vordorovis, a really simple yet engaging boss fight that drops one of the best. There's whatever. A fun yet also relaxing boss that doesn't take that much effort to kill. There's Leviathan, which nobody likes.
And this is a symbol of experience.
PVMer.
Always keep the
Chromium Ingot. And there's the Whisperer, where you go do some memorization thing and then you move. And okay, so not all the bosses are fun, but GP wise you'll be making a lot, and the gear requirements are not even that high. I feel like these bosses are part of a complete package, so even if not all of them are that good, it still remains really fun and interesting, and there's guaranteed to be at least one boss that you are gonna have a really good time with, and I quite like that. Number 2. After having learned Theater of Blood, almost, I have to say it might be one of the best pieces of content in RuneScape history, better than anything. You know what, I've been putting myself down a lot in this video. How about I just start reading off the wiki without actually doing my own research or learning any of the bosses in this video? That's what everybody else is doing. Who cares if the videos are boring and look borderline AI generated?
Oh, you got to be fucking with me!
People will watch it regardless. There are so many awful content creators that saturate the market, making it almost impossible to find a video that's actually good. You are gonna be hard pressed to find a video as factually correct as this one. And that's not even a high bar, but people would rather lie to the audience or talk out of their ass and make a boring, unwatchable, inaccurate video that doesn't help anyone. I'm not saying that my videos are good or a good example of what a RuneScape video should be. Far from it. All I'm saying is that people need to understand that there are some people who are happy with lying and exploiting the algorithm for money, and if you put up with it, they are just gonna continue. And before you know it, that's all that's gonna be left. Oh yeah, and Theater of Blood does have some caveats. Having to use Discord, learning the content, finding a group of people, planking at Xeric before the fight has even started. It's a lot you have to deal with if you want to do TOB, but luckily Ericon made a Discord for learners. That is where I got my start. It's rough, sure, but you can't honestly tell me it's not one of the most fun things in the entire game. The GP is also some of the best in the game, way better than Chambers. The wiki says 10 mil an hour, but that's nonsense. Everybody planks at TOB, no matter how experienced they might be. I'm sorry, I don't know how to calculate the exact profits, but I just know that it's really good, especially considering how valuable and common the drops are. There's only one thing that can beat TOB, and one thing only. But first, here are some honorable mentions. Corrupted Gauntlet. It's too high effort and the money is just not good enough. The same applies to Fasani's Nightmare. I really like this boss, but you basically need full Inquisitors to get decent kill speeds. So despite the good GP an hour, it's still out of reach for most people. The Phantom Muspa is good GP now, but the fight itself is horrible. One of my least favorite bosses in the game. Wilderness bosses. The GP is actually really good, but Jagex decided to put the best versions of the bosses below 30 Wilderness. So it's basically impossible to find an empty world because all the competition and bots. And if you try the high level versions, you get piled by a multi-clan. I don't know what they were thinking when they made this update. But of course the number one is TOA. What is there to say about this piece of content that hasn't already been said a million times? It might be the single most popular PVM update in RuneScape history, and it just so happens to be the most profitable one. A run with 300 invocation level has pretty average loot, about a 4 to 5% chance to get a purple, and the shadow being about a 1 out of 24. It's not bad, but it's gonna take a while to get a shadow. But when you go past 300, the purple chance goes up dramatically. You can get up to 400 without having to turn on any of the really bad invocations besides Insanity, and from that small increase in difficulty you almost double your chance of getting a purple. so you need to do about 240 expert raids to get a shadow. That's almost nothing. Plus the other purples are gonna net you some pretty good profit as well. TOA gave completely ordinary mid-level players the opportunity to get one of the most expensive drops in the game relatively easily. If even I can get a shadow split, anyone can. You can do high invocation rates with a budget setup, but actually learning the mechanics is pretty difficult. It's a bit like Vosanis. You're gonna have to die a lot and it gets really demotivating. But if you push through, the purples are gonna start pouring in. And that is why Tombs of Amascut is the #1 moneymaker in old school RuneScape.